Tonight, police detain a Grosley woman for violation of home quarantine, while the Ministry of Health tightens its policies. 13 individuals are out of a job after the National Trust is forced to downsize due to financial woes. And Peter Lansico is confident that he can unseat Castries Central incumbent MP Sarah Flood-Bobra and says, bring on the election.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Loveless and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Monday, the 4th of January, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has announced improvements to its approach to home quarantine. Through the use of technology, the ministry aims to improve the surveillance of individuals. This after recorded breaches of home quarantine. On Saturday, the 2nd of January 2021, a female resident of Beausejour Grosley was detained by police after having been observed in public areas on several occasions. She was accompanied to a government quarantine facility for monitoring. Anyone found not adhering to the terms of home quarantine upon a review by the Ministry of Health will have their approval revoked and placed at a government quarantine facility at his or her own expense. Nisha Charles begins our reporting.
In an effort to reduce infection rates of COVID-19 and keep the citizenry safe, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has been consistently working on ways to improve the monitoring of those in home quarantine. In the early stages of the pandemic, with the limited knowledge of the disease, the ministry embarked on a mandatory quarantine in state-run facilities. The acting national epidemiologist, Dr. Dana Gomez, says as the ministry's knowledge of the disease management improved, home quarantine was allowed alongside state-run quarantine.
With the institution of home quarantine option, gaps have been identified, where a number of persons who have been granted that privilege have not been keeping with the requirements and have challenged the ministry's resources to keep track of them. Today, however, we announce improvements to our approach to home quarantine.
Dr. Gomez says that 2 electronic monitoring devices have assisted the ministry to better manage home quarantine: the BioIntelliSense BioButton and the Amber wristwatch.
The BioButton is a disposable, one-time use body sensor about the size of a quarter, designed to be worn on the left side of the chest. It is small and unnoticeable. It monitors the vitals of quarantined persons who may be at high risk for developing COVID-19 disease. It also provides continuous temperature, respiratory rate, and heart rate measurements to the user. In so doing, it enables the early detection of potential cases. The wristwatch resembles a smartwatch. Through its geofencing capabilities, it ensures that persons wearing the device remain within the confines of their home as per home quarantine protocols. It also allows for the monitoring of vitals of the quarantined individual. This means that should persons develop symptoms during their quarantine period, this would be detected by the Department of Health.
The BioButton will cost $100 for the 14-day period, and the wristwatch $75 for 14 days. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Thank you, Nisha. With 2021 being an election year, one man who is hopeful of becoming the SLP's candidate for Castries Central says he is revving to go if chosen by the party to be the candidate. Peter Lansico says he has no doubt that he will easily unseat incumbent Sarah Flood-Bobra, as her track record shows that she has not upheld her position to a satisfactory standard. Rochelle Gonzalez has more in this report.
If confidence is key, then Castries Central hopeful Peter Lansico, who is vying to run for the seat on a St. Lucia Labour Party ticket, is carrying an entire bunch when it comes to how he believes he will perform in the next general election if he is chosen by the SLP. Lansico did not hesitate to express his beliefs when asked by the media on Monday morning how he feels about going up against the current Castries Central MP Sarah Flood-Bobra. He said winning the seat is the least of his worries.
I would absolutely unseat Sarah. Sarah would be the least of my problems getting out. I would absolutely unseat Sarah. Being the candidate is another matter, of course. The party is still in the process of deciding who's going to be the candidate. We are going through a process in the party, and in due course, we will know who the candidate will be. But of course, I have no doubts about lambasting Syria in the election.
As for his position in the race to be selected by the SLP to be their candidate, his confidence in being the front-runner is just as high as it is in snagging the seat from Flood Bobra, as her performance, according to him, in the constituency has been subpar.
Is Mr. Lanzigo a front-runner for Central Castries?
I am, obviously. I think I am, clearly. I am. The UWP's performance in the Castries Central Basin and in St. Lucia has been dismal. It is a party that came in without a plan, without a program. And so that's why they grab at everything. It's like a drowning man clutching to a straw. Their performance has been dismal. Dismal. It has been an absolutely shameful performance.
All eyes have been set on Prime Minister Alan Shasney to ring the bell and set a date for the election, which is due to take place this year. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Meanwhile, Lansico is expressing extreme disappointment and anger over the color scheme chosen by the government to paint the CDC buildings. He says the works being undertaken are a political ploy rather than an act of patriotism. He is urging St. Lucians to be aware of the games being played during this election year.
A political hopeful eyeing the Castries Central seat for the St. Lucia Labour Party ticket, Peter Lansico, is using his voice as a concerned citizen to speak out against an act which he calls a sorry mismanagement of the political, social and economic development affairs of the country. On Monday morning, Lansico called the media to one of the sites of his discontent, the CDC buildings in Central Castries, which are in the process of being painted in the colors of the national flag, blue, yellow, black and white, with the color yellow, the color of the United Workers' Party, standing out prominently. Whilst the project has been called an act of patriotism by the UWP administration, Lansico went on to accuse the party of doing the same in other buildings and public amenities. This, he said, is blatant disrespect to the people of St. Lucia.
It is cynical to tell the people of St. Lucia that all you are doing is honoring the flag by painting public buildings in a color that happens to be your party color. And this is reminiscent of a mindset of a failed government, a government with no ideas, a government that can do nothing for this country, a government with no plans and no strategies and no purpose. This is a government that does everything on an ad hoc basis, like the DSH project, for instance. The DSH project clearly showed us that this is a government with no plans. They came in, they grab at anything they get, and so it's just a manger cochon. It is cynicism at its best.
Lansico said, whilst he is not calling for the repainting of the building, he hopes that the wool is not pulled over the eyes of the citizenry. He said later down the line, a more neutral color should be considered.
I would never propose that we waste the taxpayers' money that way. They have painted it in yellow, but we want the people to know, the people of St. Lucia to know, that we would never engage in wasting taxpayers' resources, because the painting of this in yellow was not done by Guy Joseph or Alan Shasney or his grandfather's money. It was done by taxpayers' money. But for the record, it has to be made clear that we must discontinue in such practices. And so the next time that the CDCs are painted, we are going to paint it in a proper color that can be respected by everybody. But I wouldn't engage in proposing that it is not repainted, because it would be a waste of taxpayers' money. But I want to make the point anyway. It is disrespect for the people. And you see, what you're doing to people is you're forcing them to live in a house that is painted yellow. This cannot be right, because this is a party color. Even for those who may support the party, you're forcing them to live in a house that's just painted yellow. This is disrespectful.
The Castries Central hopeful said perhaps a light green would have been a better choice to represent nature. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Thank you, Rochelle. Stay with us. Still to come, redundancies and scaled-back operations at Pigeon Island take effect as financial woes impact the National Trust. Teachers go back to school, and one admits her heightened anxiety amid increasing cases of COVID-19. And how effective are the COVID-19 wardens? Social media complaints seem to be mounting.